Hey, good morning. It's Celestina. I wanted to take a quick minute and just visit with y'all, with you guys. I don't like saying you guys. It sounds like I'm talking to men only. Anyway, y'all is very southern, and I'm in Tucson and not in the South, where that's common to say, but y'all kind of gets the idea across. But I wanted to visit with you and just kind of share what's been on my mind. So one thing that I wanted to talk about is our name. So we've kind of settled on the name Soil and Grit, Urban Homestead, or Family Garden, or something like that. We like that because soil kind of tells you what we do. We work in the soil, and grit because that's what you have to have in order to be successful long-term gardening and making spaces beautiful and keeping things alive. Also, grit kind of describes perseverance as well as resilience, and the fact that if you're going to try and garden in a place with the kind of heat and the dryness that we have, you have to have some stick-to-itiveness and ability to just get back on the horse instead of just saying, I'm never going to do it again. Anyway, I also wanted to talk a little bit about beautiful places. So the last place that we lived before moving here was an apartment complex that during the pandemic had been largely unpoliced. So there was a lot of Section 8 in that apartment complex, which was fine. But due to the moratorium on kicking people out of their homes for unpayment or bad behavior, whatever it was, they just didn't kick people out of the place. So what happened was the majority of the buildings had at least one or two apartments in each building were trap houses that there was active drug dealing from, not just drug use, not just private drug use, but open people coming and going all hours. And in that place, we had a small balcony that people walked down to get to their apartments on the second floor. And we put plants out there. We started with just a few plants, and before we left, we had over 150 plants. I had bought my green stock while we lived there so that we could actually grow more food. We began to hang our plants off the overhang, and we had many hanging planters. It was such a refreshing place and a place of beauty, like plants blooming. There's at least 3 or 4 plants at a time blooming, and just giant, beautiful, lots of blooms. It was great because when you drove into the property, people, there was open use everywhere, open drug use. So people would be sitting on the curb, smoking fentanyl. I would have to ask people to get off the steps so that I could go up to my house so that, can you use somewhere else? Can you put that away? There are children here. There's a birthday party here. I'd have to walk through 20 people getting high around my dumpster to throw my trash away. And it was pretty much daily. It was worse on the weekends, but addiction doesn't discriminate days. So even on weekdays, taking my laundry down to the laundromat on site was, you'd be stepping over people with their foil and their straw out. So it wasn't a great environment. And our garden just brought so much, our just patio garden, our containers brought so much peace. One morning we were leaving. We would take the dogs for a walk every morning and take our infant son with us. Clearly, we'd all go. And so we were coming down from the stairs with our stroller and the baby and the dogs. And a lady walked by, and then she turned around and came back, and she said, "I just want to tell you, when I see you and your family and everything that's blooming up there, I just want to tell you that I have to walk by it multiple times a day because I feel hopeful and I feel peace and I want to have what you have one day." We were in a small apartment, too small for us, in a terrible environment, and somebody else told me they wanted to have what we had just because we created a little bit of beauty in our space. And I want to say that you deserve beauty in your space. You deserve to have a place of peace. You deserve to be able to create an oasis, even if it's outside your doorstep, to whatever capacity you can. I understand that it's hard. Sometimes it's just hard. You have all kinds of circumstances that sometimes aren't even your fault, but you're there. And what are you going to do with it? You going to make the best of it? Can you still create beauty? Can you still do good things? Can you still be happy? So that's my quick encouragement this morning. I want to encourage you all, make a beautiful space. My space is not orderly, it's not clean, it's not well manicured, it is chaotic. Everything's in the same place. Even when I clean things up, I have a 2-year-old that comes behind me and uncleans things up, so that's fun. But the truth is, I actually have a lot of peace in my yard, and I have a lot of peace with my dogs and with my 2-year-old and with my husband, who loves the same things that I love. He loves beautiful things. So I'm just grateful. I'm really, really grateful. I'm grateful to hear the chickens in the morning making little sounds, all their little bok bok boks, and they're cackling when they lay an egg. Their personalities are great. And I am grateful to be in a space that's clean, and we don't have people who are using. I don't have to walk out my doorstep and step over people who are using. Anyway, not to bring anybody down, but I did want to just give perspective to my encouragement. So let me show you this real quick. These are my seeds that I started probably about a month ago, and I'm potting up. I am giving the soil, I'm going to be pulling out the rest of the tomatoes in the garden, and I'm going to give the soil a rest. Is plant some things that will just, I don't feel a great need to have cover crops because I have straw over all the beds, straw or vermiculite over my beds to help keep down weeds and keep the soil from burning all the nutrients out from the sun. So I don't feel a great need to do a full cover crop, but I do want to plant some things that are beneficial to the soil in the way that it gives back to the soil where there's been heavy feeders. And tomatoes are heavy feeders, and we love tomatoes. So we're working on that. I do have some peppers coming along that I'm really excited about. Some sweet peppers and serranos. Yeah, that's little sweet banana. And a few over here, they just didn't do well. So if you notice, the peppers are far smaller than the tomatoes. It germinates slower than tomatoes do. Peppers germinate slower than tomatoes do, so they actually take about 10 days before you start seeing them. Sometimes a little less time than that. So maybe 6 days, but still that's a long time compared to like something like tomatoes where you see them sprout up right away if your conditions are right. So yeah, up potting. I also went to Lowe's and went to the hospice section of the nursery, and in the hospice section I found roses, $30 roses for $15, $12. I found roses and other succulents that I have been planting and will bring back to life, God willing. So I wanted to show you, I got a birthday present from my sister, and I feel so known by her that she knows to get me plants and flowers. It doesn't look like much, but this is a yellow goji berry, and this is a red goji berry, which I've never grown, and I don't know how they'll do in Tucson, but I'm gonna try. Information I read about the goji berries said that they need, if they're going to be in a container, they need no less than 5 gallons. Well, I don't want to start them out in 5 gallons. That's a lot of soil, for one, and number two, they have a root ball that's about that big. So I don't feel like they're going to be pushing, I mean, they're in 2 gallons right now, so I don't think that they're going to be pushing out of that anytime soon, but you know, when they do, I'll transplant them up. Another thing I got is turmeric, or turmeric. This is a yellow turmeric and a white turmeric that Jubilee sent me. And she also sent a vanilla orchid, which I am terrified of killing. I've never been successful at growing orchids. Arizona, if you know anything about the desert, it's dry, and these orchids, these specific ones, require 50% humidity. So I have done some research, and I think I'm going to figure it out, and I'll show you what I'm doing once I get what I'm waiting on. This is my workstation, so don't judge it. This is where I've been potting everything up. I'm just gonna do a quick view of all the beautiful things. These are zinnias. I planted some smaller ones up here. Ooh, nasty bug. I love this one with the one red petal. Butter colored with some red specks and one red petal. I just love these miniature little perfect zinnias, not good for cut flowers. This one's about to blow. They're not good for cut flowers, but I'm okay with that. I want some beauty in the garden as well. This, I pulled out all the other sunflowers here. They were pretty much spent. Pulled them out, left the one, and yeah. Oh, pretty girl. I love you guys. You're so cheerful. You're always so cheerful. I love you. Look at these that I just planted. Oh, I should thin them. I have ground cherries here. Ground cherries. I'm excited for the ground cherries. Oh, also, so when I got the turmeric from my sister, I researched for the first time. I should do this more often, but I researched for the first time growing turmeric in Tucson, or Arizona, the low desert. And this lady posted that hers doesn't even come out of the ground. It doesn't even sprout until late June or July. And I was like, what? Because I had planted some last year, and I just, you know, when the garden's going full force and it's just really coming along, it's hard to believe that something that you've had in the ground for I think I planted it in March or February, a long time ago, March, I think it was March. I planted my turmeric, and it's not even shown up until right now. So then I came out here and looked. Let me show you. My little turmeric sprout. I love it. I'm so excited for it. And then this is my ginger. Oh, and I don't think I've ever talked to you about this. This is my Oya. I homemade it. It's a pot. Is an ancient irrigation system, for lack of a better word, where they use clay pots and they bury it up to the neck, fill it with water, and because like terracotta and clay are porous, the water, the roots come and attach to the clay and draws the water out of it. And I have pulled it up in other pots and found that they are in fact attached. The little tiny hair roots are attached to the Oyas. So that's my homemade Oya. I'll maybe show you when I pull one up when I can. Look at this beauty. Oh, yes. Oh, I love you. I love you. It's a gummy bear sunflower. Gummy bear sunflower from Johnny Seeds. This is one of my hospice plants that I got for $2. It's looking kind of rough, but it's alive. It's a gomphrena. And look at my beautiful, beautiful. Oh, I love you, zinnias. I just have been waiting for you. Been waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally you come out to play. I think this is a green envy one. It'll be green, as the name suggests. And of course, obligatory view of the beautiful purple eggplants. Love. Oh, all right. Let's walk you back here. So these are things I planted from seeds in this bed as a companion plant. Marigolds are good with tomatoes. Is a theory, I hope it's true, that marigolds help decrease the presence of pests due to their smell. Marigolds, if you've ever played with the foliage, you'll know it smells pretty strong. Let me show you. I think this is a Baneri Giant yellow. And so what I do with my zinnias is I pinch the tops off so they branch out. So instead of being a singular 5-foot stalk on the zinnia, it'll have two stalks, grows a little shorter, and produces flowers on the top of those two stalks. So much of this is just a hot mess right now. We have had so much heat. It's just increased in heat in the last week so much that it becomes a challenge to keep things alive. But let me show you what I'm doing down here. So in this bed, I planted amaranth. And amaranth for me, it does really well in the heat. It does phenomenally in the heat. I kind of space them tightly so that they won't get just gigantic. Amaranth is great in the heat. It's edible. Both the seeds and the greens are edible. I have, I think, 4 different varieties in there. They also produce great flowers, which I love. I had Love Lies bleeding last year, which did pretty good. I realized with my amaranth that it's a trap crop. I think I mentioned this before. A trap crop is where bugs, a particular type of bug will come down and like to eat that kind of plant. And so I planted as a trap crop. They're like little beetles. I don't know what they are. I could Google them. I just never have. They eat my eggplant, my peppers, not so much my tomatoes, but eggplant is just, my leaves will get just lacy because they'll be so eaten. And I find that those bugs will leave my eggplants alone and flock to the amaranth and do that to the amaranth, which I don't mind if the amaranth gets eaten up. Somebody's puppy is crying. So I also planted cucamelons, which I have to tell you, my husband was fanatic about last year. Tried to put them in, he just tried to refrigerate, pickle them, and didn't follow a recipe, so it was okay, but it wasn't phenomenal. But what I love about them the most is they only get about that big, and they taste like a sour cucumber, and when you bite into them, you just pop, and it's a really nice, they're not as juicy as like cherry tomatoes, so they don't pop and squirt, they just pop, and it's a good, I like the texture, I like the feeling, I like it. So I planted some more gherkins, or cucamelons, also called gherkins. So I will show you how that progresses. But the amaranth gets really tall. They could be, and they're stocky. Some of the stalks were, an inch or two across when I pulled them up last year. So the cucamelons will climb them and use them as support, but we'll hope to train the cucamelon to the fence or to a trellis. Yeah, so amaranth, and I have lettuce leaf basil in here. Let me show you. Okay, these are, I think it's called, I don't know, brown biscuit amaranth. They produce like a beige flower, which I'm actually kind of excited about. This is Joseph's Coat amaranth. It's multicolored in reference to the Bible. This is, I don't know what that one is, but I know this one is Love's Lies Bleeding. So maybe that's the same thing, just a little bit of a different color. Some more in Joseph's Coat. Look at those leaves, how variegated and pretty they are. They're nice. This is lettuce leaf basil. These will get, that basil will get, the leaf will get about the size of my hand. They have more of a licorice-y flavor to me, so they wouldn't necessarily be one like the Genovese that you use like on a margarita pizza. They go great in a salad. I've heard of people using basils in tea, like a sweet tea, a basil tea. So I did try that last year and I found it to be too strong, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But I will try again this year because I never learned. Also, I was told, somebody else said for the basil, the lettuce leaf basil, to use it as a wrap in place of lettuce. So if you did like what are they called? Like a boat? A lettuce boat? Where you put like the meat and what you're gonna eat, the filling of like whatever, a burrito or whatever, taco. You put it in the lettuce leaf basil, wrap it up, and you have another flavor. along with it. It's kind of a milder basil. Yeah, let me show you my little cucamelons. Our mice are insane. Oh, they are. They look you in the face. They look you in the face and they do what they're gonna do. So let me show you this cucamelon. Look at how cute they are. They're so little. Just widow, they're widow. They do take off though. They take a while to take off, but once they do, they really, really do. And this one, I've started kind of pulling out tomatoes in this bed. Let me get down. This tomato's done. Asa pulled off the last green from this plant yesterday, the green tomato. These guys, I think we're gonna keep getting tomatoes from this and from this one. It just is holding up in the heat. That one I believe is coming out. It's just on its last leg. But down here, I've planted other basils. So I have both lemon and lime basil in this bed, as well as Genovese and a few lettuce leaf. So the basil's really good to help keep away, or not to keep away predators from the tomatoes. They're good to, or I've been told, I've heard, I've read that basil improves the flavor of tomatoes when grown together. I don't know if that's true or if they just go in recipes together, so people just like it that way, and that's fine. Also, look at this guy. He's just giant. It's a he. I think it's a he. This is a he. It's aggressive. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that nasty bug. You see it? Right there on my plant. I have bad words to say about it. I'll kill it. Oh, stupid. Okay, sorry. I'm here for this. I'm showing you that. So, Jason has been pulling them off ripe and just eating them raw. And he's offered it to me, and I didn't really want to eat. I've never had a tomatillo. I didn't think I had ever eaten a tomatillo straight from the plant. But when I bit into it, I had a very, very distinct, it was a very familiar taste. So I believe when I was a child in Mexico, I must have eaten one fresh, or it was given to me fresh in salsa or something. I don't know, but I gotta tell you, it was a very kind of a comforting flavor. For lack of a better word, I don't know really how to describe it, but they're sour, crunchy, very crunchy, not as juicy as a tomato, a little more pasty, and they did have some sweetness to them. So we're looking forward to, if Jason quits eating them straight off the vine or plant, we'll definitely do some salsa verde. I'd really, 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 really like some homemade enchilada sauce, green enchilada sauce. I love green enchilada sauce. My favorite. Haha. Love it. Pulled up all the rest of my cucumbers down here. They got really bitter. Really, really bitter. This is just beat to heck by all the, oh my, what's this going on? Nature. Oh, can you see it? Where is it? I can't see it on my camera, but I know it's there. Yeah, right there. You see that spider? It's eating one of those beetles right now. Look at it. It just wrapped it up. Cool. Thank you, spider. Okay, and in this garden, got my marigolds. I had come back by, and I planted some legumes in here. So these are edamame. So I may or may for tomatoes on my next flush of plants. Now, you're told not to plant tomatoes where you planted them last season, but I'm thinking that since we're kind of in the same season, I might as well just plant them back in here, just in a rotation. I'm not sure. We'll see. Pretty girl. Love you. Love you. Oh, yes. Look at these guys. Excited about those things. I feel like everything's kind of turned brown since it's gotten hot, and it kind of has, but there are things that are still doing well and still producing, so I'm actually not going to complain, even though I see all the lack. I see the lack so much, but I think we could always see the lack. We'll always be able to see the lack. So then I guess, what do I want to focus on? It's not the lack that I want to focus on. It's the gummy bear sunflowers that I want to focus on. That's my pretty little vincas. And it's my gomphrenias. I love the soft color on these. Yep, that's what I want to focus on. So my friends, create something beautiful and focus on the good, and I'll talk to you soon.